Whoop. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Heart-Based Business Show. I'll get that straight at some point. I always end up laughing at myself over this technical stuff. Anyway, I am Dr. Charlene Reeves, your host, and we are here every Wednesday at 9:30 Pacific time. And I just want to talk to you a little bit in the beginning about what's going on and how you can be different. Don't get caught up in all this stuff. Don't listen to the news all day long, because I've even noticed that for me personally, when I listen to the news all the time, I start to get stressed and depressed. And that's no good for my business. So what I've done is I am really focusing on being a leader. And that's what I want to talk to you about too. In fact, today is all about being a leader, but step up, because if you step up at this time, then you will be a leader when we come out of this, and we will come out of it. There's no question about it. We will come out of it. This is very temporary, but it's also an opportunity for you to really look at what you've been doing and see how you can do it better. Now, here's an example, and that is moving your business online. I did that 4 years ago. Obviously, best thing I ever did, right? And people expected me to see me online. And in fact, in the olden days, when I got to be in person, they'd say, "I see you everywhere. How do you do that?" Well, the truth is, I'm not everywhere. I'm right here. I'm broadcasting all over the world, and I go out to networking groups that are the largest. Oftentimes I get a chance to speak, or I get a chance to sell my book, or I get a chance to interact with people that can mastermind with me to help me move my business forward. And that's why I bring you the guests on this show that I bring you, is so that I can help you move forward and you can become a leader. Now, today's really going to be fun, because we're talking about whether your book can make you an expert. And as a result, I brought on Barak Granot, and he is amazing. He's a best-selling author, he's a speaker, and what he really, really does well is he's a marketing strategist. And I work with him myself. That's why I wanted to bring him to you, so that you could hear some ideas, if you don't have a book yet, what you could do that would be simple, quick, and a whole lot less painless than doing the kind of thing that I did with my book. There's 367 pages here, and it took a while to put it all together. So what I want you to do, if you don't have a book, is think about a new way to do a book that isn't so time consuming and isn't quite so much. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to make you an expert if you have a book already, or when you do have a book, and why you want a book, of all things, right? I mean, I'll tell you, it's a really big calling card is what it is. So first of all, I don't want you to think about writing a book to make yourself money, because it just doesn't happen. And let me tell you, I have 4 awards for my book, and it's a #1 bestseller now internationally. But that isn't going to make me more money. But what it does do is it gives me more credibility, right? Because you'll know that if I did that well with my book, how could I not be an expert? And you can do this too. I want you to really step up. Think about being a leader and an expert in your field of expertise. This is so important, because it will change your life. It'll change the way you do business. It'll change how others interact with you. You'll start getting some speaking gigs. But I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's bring on Barak and see what he has to say. Barak, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here with me.
Thank you so much. I'm glad. Thank you for having me.
Well, we need you at this point, because we're talking about becoming or being leaders And I think a book is probably one of the best ways to do that, right? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, definitely that can push you out to be in your own league. And definitely people are looking for experts. Things have changed a lot in the way people are actually deciding on a provider, a service provider, even on objects, like things that they buy. And they do a lot more research, and they look for something that will be a good deal, but not necessarily financially, but a better value. And that is the defining factor for a lot of people. Is when somebody has a book, they consider him to be the expert.
Why do you think that they are considered to be an expert? What is it that what is that perception? Why does that happen?
Well, first of all, a lot of change in the way people shop these days. Again, for a provider, I'm not talking about specific items, but it includes that as well. Let me tell you a little bit about what I'm talking about. Like, for example, when I'm turning 50s, in few months. So I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and for example, when I had to buy music, or there is a record store that you go and touch the albums or the cassettes, and you listen there, and you can spend a few hours there immersed with all the senses. If you wanted to get a book, you go to the bookstore, and again, you feel the book, you smell them, you touch them. Later on, videos, you go to Blockbuster, and you can spend a couple of hours choosing a movie with all the movies around you. These days, everything is instant. We live in a microwave culture. The decisions have to be instant. We are inundated with a lot of messages around us, and we need to make the decisions faster, and as I can show you, with a lot less data. So, for example, if you want to get music, you can stream it instantly. You can, a movie, you can go to Netflix or Hulu and stuff like that, and you can, again, with a push of a button, within minutes or seconds, you can get a movie that you want. And books from Amazon, you order it 2 days, it's in your doorstep. Or if it's on a Kindle, you can instantly start reading it. Things became a lot faster, and people use less senses in that decision. Now, they still need to trust something, so they use some what I call trust triggers. Certain elements that are perceived unconsciously almost, and then people get a certain decision in their mind about, in our case, like, let's say it's a professional that they're going to choose. And those trust triggers are basically accepted without even questioning, and that means something. Let me tell you a story. You can hear from my accent that I'm not an American native. So I was born in Israel, and about 13 years ago, when I was about to come to the US, I wanted to get a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, to consult, to do everything legal and make sure that everything is done correctly. So obviously, I have a lot of choices with immigration lawyers, and most of them are actually offering free consultation. But I chose one that charged me an arm and a leg for a short consultation. And the reason I chose him is because he had a book. So he wrote about a book about the visa to the US. And I just really I didn't read the book. I didn't buy the book. Just the fact that he had a book caused me to choose him, even though he was charging a lot and others were offering the same thing for free. So, this is something that people, use. This is one of the trust triggers. There are other trust triggers that can, people can use aside from a book. A book by, a lot of people consider a book to be the best. Authority has an author in it. Okay, so this is one factor that is a big decision point for a lot of people.
So, what do you think, Barak, about like I was showing my book, the heavier book or the smaller book. What are your thoughts? Because a lot of people don't have the time that I had to move all the, put it all together. I had it edited 9 times. It went on forever. So tell me, what do you think people could do to get a book out quickly? Because as I said earlier in the show, they're really like a big, they're like a big card, is what they are. They're a business card is really what they are. And if you can get them sold at the back of the room, it's awesome. But a lot of us don't have that kind of time. They don't have time to do 9 edits. They don't have time to write 367 pages. So what is it you suggest people do if they really want to step into leadership quickly and have something to hand out?
All right, that's a great question, because that's been a stumbling block for a lot of people in writing books. And like you, I also struggled when I wrote a book, and one of the things I was doing, still doing, and is doing marketing for dentists. And I wrote a book, and I show you here. This is my book, Attract Better Patients: How to Position Yourself as the go-to dentist for higher value cases. That's a book I wrote a few years ago. It became an international bestseller, and I sat down and wrote it, like you said, and edited, and spent a lot of time in formulating my idea. And it took me quite a long time from the idea, and it's about 2 years that took me to get this book out. And this is a lot longer than what we are doing now. I have a publishing company, and we're doing books for people, and the way we do that is different. The way we do that, and that's kind of like an advice I have for your question, is we interview the provider, the professional, on certain parts. So basically, the first thing is to break down and really get the concepts of the book. A lot of people are coming to me with a book, either the book already done or something like that, and then they miss the point. They miss the boat. You have to basically, the planning part is very important. So the planning of the audience, the message, it has to be done really well. Otherwise, all your efforts are wasted. But
can I just say something quickly?
Sure.
In response to that, Barak? And that is to make sure that you know who your target market is and the message that you want to provide. Ask your target market, what is it they need? When I did my book, I had interviewed thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world, because I do a lot of travel. And they said, I want to know how you sell. I don't understand how you end up at the top of the leaderboard. And everywhere I went, they'd ask me that same question, because for years I did real estate, I did insurance, and I knew how to do this sales process. And it wasn't like what they taught. And so many people asked me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I guess I'm just going to have to write a book around this. So the point I'm trying to make is to make sure that you're writing a book that people want. That's really important. And the other thing is to write it like you're speaking to them, right, Barak? So that they really are comfortable with the read. It's an easy read. It's not difficult. And you got to tell a lot of stories, right?
That's right. And let me back off, because before writing it, when I and you're right about feeling from the audience, but it's also, see, I one thing that I want to stress is sometimes you think a certain topic is really needed, but those are not the people that will buy your service. So I had a client recently, actually in the last few weeks, that he had a book, but it's more like a feel-good book that is, a lot of people like it. A lot of people like, but those are not the people that will buy his services. Okay, so for the book to be beneficial, he needs actually a different type of book, a book that sheds some light over a certain problem that can happen. those are the people that would be interested in his service. And therefore, when he when he met with me, it's like, oh wow, I actually wrote a book, and now it makes sense why it doesn't succeed. It's his second book, so it's not like he's a bad writer. The person is very knowledgeable. He's actually an authority in his field, and he's speaking a lot, all over the world. But this is something that you need to really hone down and figure out exactly what is the topic of the book, not just by, it has to be done in a smart way. If you're doing surveys, because you have to look at the people that are your target audience and what will make them buy. And then we break down to the chapters, and each chapter can be broken down even further. And the way we do that, the way we write it, is we interview you for, on those topics, and we take that interview, transcribe it, and then change it around to become a readable chapter. So that's why we're taking it, because a lot of the people, and that's why people are sometimes stuck in writing books. You sit in front of a blank page and you feel like you're in high school, you have to write an essay or something like that. And it's not easy for a lot of people, but people can explain their ideas a lot better than they can write them, because I explain them all the time, like I do now. Okay, so if you answer some questions and some follow-up questions and get to explain your topic, then that can be more easily become a chapter of a book afterwards. And like you said, it has to have your stories, it has to have anecdotes and other things, but it is basically based on how you speak and how you explain your topics. Does that make sense?
It makes excellent sense. And you've helped like Jim Britt with Cracking the Rich Code. We just did 3 volumes on that, and I was in the 3rd one, so that was pretty exciting. And also you worked with Kevin Harrington on Shark Tank. And one of my favorites is Darren Prince, because he's the agent for Magic Johnson. So Barak really knows what it is he's talking to you about. That's why I wanted to bring him to you. And I wanted you, Barak, to share the little book that you were talking about earlier with me, because I just love that idea.
Okay, no problem. And by the way, this is something that I might do. Whoever, if your audience don't know Kevin Harrington is also the author of Key Person of Influence. This is a book that he basically hired me to promote, and we got him to become a best-selling author with this book. And so this is something that Kevin Harrington is very excited to work with me about. We might do something together. But this book is a lot shorter than you would expect. This is a very short book, anywhere between 60 to 80 pages. So it's not something that will take you very long to consume. You see, when you have a book that is bigger, and Darren Prince and Magic Johnson's book is a thicker book, if you can see that, this is quite intimidating sometimes. And you give that, and it positions you with no doubt. I mean, this is something that put you in a different level than anybody else. But on the other hand, it's harder to consume. So depends on your goals and what you want to achieve. Sometimes it's better to take one specific topic, one problem, one solution, and just take that and cover that in a smaller book that can be consumed easily. And within a half an hour, somebody can take that and read, and be and it has a lot of call to actions, and you can basically get your ideas explained a little bit better, in a shorter book. So this is something that is a lot easier to produce. It can even, first of all, it will cost you less to produce a book like that, to publish a book like that, than a full book by yourself. That's one thing. Also, the reproduction, the copies, will cost you less. It's something that you can, men can put in a jacket's pocket, or women in their purse, lot easily, and I'll show you kind of like the difference in size. Okay, so you can see that this is a smaller book, but it's the best business card you can have, because you see, business cards people put away, they lose them, they put them in a drawer and a shoebox, and that's it. But people don't throw books, and it will be on their bookshelf, and and that will remind them. You'll basically keep yourself top of mind. But most importantly, it's easy, because it's easy to consume. It won't sit there collecting dust. They will actually get the viewpoint that you cover. And you can do that for different parts of your business. So for example, if you're a dentist, you can have a book like that about veneers, and another book about dental implants, and another one about sedation, and you give it to the applicable people. Or if you're a real estate agent, you can have a book about, let's say, about selling your house fast and for the most amount of money, if it is, or flipping houses, buying a house for investment, or improving your credit, or something like that. You can have books specifically on specific subject, and you give one book for let's say buyers, and another one for sellers, and another one for investors. Does that make sense?
Excellent idea. An absolutely excellent idea. And when we were talking a little earlier, Barak was saying that book is maybe 6,000 to 8,000 words. 6,000 to 8,000 words is so easy to write. We talk that fast. And
Exactly.
You could even talk it into your computer and have it write it up for you. I know I can do that. And that's awesome, because then you could just have somebody else edit it for you. And then you've got about 60 pages that you can hand to somebody. They could stick it in their pocket and then read it on the train, or read it on the bus, or when you're in line waiting. Well, in the olden days, when we used to wait to get over the border, it took a while. So we'd had time to read. Now you just go right through.
Yeah.
There's no line at all. So I love this idea of the pocketbook, and I may even break my own book down so that I have little books. And that would be a good idea too, wouldn't it, Barak?
Yeah, no, definitely. And this is a service that sorry, I'm trying to find. This is a service that we can do, like right for you. And actually, this book is about, this specific one is about generating leads and becoming an expert with books of that sort. And it explains why it's why it's so beneficial to have the book short, and why it's beneficial to have the book in this specific one is in a Q&A form. So it has like questions and answers, because that's basically how you enter the conversation in your audience's minds. You get to ask the question and answer them, ask on their behalf basically, and answer them to the best of your ability. And it still positions you as the expert. Again, giving the book away, it's like, oh wow, you have a book. And that puts you up in a different plane. See, the publishing, the publishing. I'm a book publisher, and my publishing company is called Blue Ocean Publishing Group. And the reason for that is from the Blue Ocean Strategy book. And if any of your audience is not familiar what it is, they're talking about in this book about the ocean becomes red because everybody is competing on the same pool of people and the same customers, and the sharks are eating each other, and all the ocean become red of blood from all the same consumers basically, and people cut prices and so on. And then somebody comes and define his own league, basically basically he's considered to be alone in his own space, and he has the ocean all for himself, and that's the blue ocean. Similar to, he gives examples of how circuses were fighting, and then Cirque du Soleil became like in its own category of a circus without animal, and that gave them the full blue ocean. So when you become an author, a lot of the times you can cut yourself up from the competition and be in a league of yourself. And those books are still giving you that. So if you are a provider, let's say you a nutritionist and you want to write on specific types of diets or specific issues that people would have, so you can have like different books, and instead of that costing you tens of thousands of dollars, it can basically just be only a few thousands, and you can have the book ready to deliver.
Barak, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming and helping us out today, and teaching us how to be a leader. And I want to tell you one thing too. Barak is fabulous at making your book an international bestseller. He is the best ever. And I put up a little thing that said how to get in touch with him as a special for us today. Whoops. Yep. He's going to give you a free 30-minute consultation. All you have to do is go to barak.info and schedule some time to meet with him. He's a very busy man, I have to tell you that. So for us to have this gift from him, it's wonderful. Thank you so much, Barak, for being with us today. And I really appreciate all your words of wisdom. And I look forward to working with you again very, very soon.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Sure. Now, everybody, I just want to let you know that well, first of all, I want to tell you how much I appreciate that you are here with us today. And, you know, I didn't see any questions, but I know that people watch these shows over and over and over again. And we are on every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. or 9:30 Pacific time. And if you would like to be on the show, or you would like to be interviewed on my Ask the Experts, I want you to think about joining the Speakers and Authors Visibility Playground. We're going to have networking groups in there. We are going to do masterminds. We're going to have so much going on. And this is a fairly new group. So if you join now, you become one of the founders. And I think that we need to work together to become leaders. Authors need to become speakers, and speakers need to get more opportunities. You know, they had all of their speaking opportunities canceled. Everything was canceled, and now they're standing there. What do we do now? I don't know what to do now. So join us. Let's figure out what to do now. And you can really step up, speakers, and play a different game than you've been playing, but now you can play it online, and it'll make you so credible to the people that want to hear you speak. If you had a speaking gig, I was listening to Jake Ballantyne yesterday. He made a fabulous comment when he said, if you had something you were going to speak about, then go ahead and speak about it online. And you could even publish the transcript along with your speaking opportunity. Don't miss out. You've got air, and this air that we're sharing together is very, very valuable. So people, if you don't have a book, let's get a book going. Come on into the Authors and Speakers Visibility Playground. I'd love to have you, and let's play together so that we can become leaders and come out the other side strong, positive, and with a presence. Let's get everybody to say, I see you everywhere. See you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.